For almost 30 years, Salinas Valley State Prison has been home to some of the most violent Level 4 inmates that the state of California has to offer. On February 14th, 2018, 26-year-old Joseph Argueta was found at around 11 a.m. lying on the floor of his cell as staff members carried out a security check. Joseph Argueta was found with multiple stab wounds to his upper chest. And although life-saving measures were taking place, at around 11:26 a.m., inmate Argueta was pronounced deceased, and the suspect was his cellmate, 38-year-old Jacob Castro.
We are told it was a horrific attack. A female correctional officer was battered and held hostage for hours.
Oh, we're horrified. This is the worst case scenario that we all prepare and try to avoid happening every day when we go to work.
Staff from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation contacted Fox 11 News, asking us to protect their identity.
Women do not feel safe. Even male staff don't feel safe.
Documentation from the CDCR reveals that on January 20, 2024, inmate Robert Lawrence Ransom Jr., a convicted killer from Los Angeles, was able to gain entry into a control booth similar to this one at the Sierra Conservation Center in Jamestown. Staffers say Ransom physically and sexually assaulted a female correctional officer.
He did try to impersonate another staff member, and once an inmate is able to gain access to a control booth, they're pretty much in control of the building themselves. And so if he was able to overpower her and take her weapon, at that point, she's a hostage and she's not able to communicate.
The inmate was inside the control booth from 9:30 p.m. on Saturday until 2:30 a.m. on Sunday.
Grounds don't have the visual. They can't see what's occurring in the control booth because it's elevated. So it's a dangerous position.
Staff members say they wouldn't be speaking out if this was an isolated incident. They tell us correctional officers are no longer safe in California prisons.
There's no repercussions anymore for things that are occurring inside the department. So if inmates batter staff, attack staff, the consequences are changing. They may not even necessarily get put in administrative segregation anymore.
You couldn't pay me enough money to stick around the train wreck that is happening and that's going to happen.
After 16 years as a lieutenant with the CDCR, Hector Bravo Farrell quit, saying he no longer felt safe.
The daily assaults on staff members, battery on staff members, attempted murders on staff members.
Hector and staffers who called Fox 11 News say the new changes in the California prison system are the problem.
Welcome to the California Model, a revolutionary initiative transforming the incarceration system for all.
The California model is a softer, rehabilitative model similar to Norway's incarceration system, where inmates have a lot of freedoms.
They're trying to do something here that staff understand can't be done here because Norway doesn't have the gang population that we have.
We have many factions: Blood, Crips, Sureños, Norteños. We have notorious or infamous prison gangs: Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, Aryan Brotherhood, Black Guerrilla Family.
The CDCR issued a statement that says in part, the California model is an effort to improve conditions and outcomes in prisons and strengthen staff safety and well-being. It is unfortunate to hear some may be misinforming the public on this effort, especially as we are working diligently to investigate this incident. The full statement will be up on our website.
The way things are changing, it's not just at one prison, it's statewide.
The only people that know what's happening in prison are the officers and staff members that work inside and the inmates. That's it. They can control the narrative.
In their statement, the CDCR says they are working with law enforcement to investigate this assault, and they also say the inmate has been placed in restrictive housing while this investigation takes place. Alex, Christine, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
My son was murdered at 17. He didn't get to graduate. The accused has graduated. He will, if he chooses, he can go to college. He'll be able to rent or own his first home.
A first home, a first job, a first wife, child, grandchild.
I'll never have any of these things. And so he'll be young enough to come home and live the life my son should be living.
While Clavo is against this, she's been vocal about sympathizing with the suspect Kimonte Lindsay's family ever since they announced his arrest. Here's what she said back in 2016.
I can't help to go without thinking of Keontae's family. They're ultimately affected as well.
And she still stands by that now.
I mean, I pray for the accused as I pray for myself, right? I don't wish any harm or ill will on the young man. I just think he should be held accountable for his actions, if he did it.
Clavo adds another concern with SB 1391. Adults will take advantage of our youth to commit crimes. She also feels this isn't solving the actual problems.
I think as a community, as a culture, as a city, we're always looking at the effect, right? We're not looking at the root cause. We need to start holding one another accountable for what our youth are doing.
In Sacramento, Francis Wang, ABC.
Los Angeles County and state prisons are tightening security after a surge in violence. The state prison system says level 4 high security sections will move to a modified program starting Saturday after multiple incidents, including an inmate homicide in LA County. The program limits movement, visits, and calls while keeping essential services available. CDCR says meals will be delivered to housing units and movement will be controlled. Officials say that restrictions will stay in place until the investigation is complete.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Green Lit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. For those of you who are returning, some people that have watched videos of mine, been a supporter of mine for however long, it means a lot. Thank you so much. For those of you that are new, maybe this is your first video, welcome. I really hope you enjoy the content. And if you do like it, I encourage you to go watch some of my other videos. Lastly, you like what you see, you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please leave a comment, engage in some conversation, and hit the subscribe button because you already know it means the world to me. Without you guys, I really am nothing. My subscribers blew past 16,000. For those of you that have been listening and watching, you know my goal this year is 20,000. I haven't been shy about it. I really hope we reach that. If this pace continues, we should have no problem getting there. So once again, thank you. Okay, so we're going to be sticking within the CDCR. We're going to be sticking within the California prison system. We're going back to 2018 to cover a murder that took place in Salinas Valley State Prison. 2 Norteno gang members were in a cell together, and on February 14, 2018, only one left. Really quick, I want to touch on this. The more I read these stories, the more I see what's going on out there, like with the escape of Cesar Hernandez. He was a high security, high level inmate, escaped. The more I see about these murders that are just continuing to take place at these California state prisons. The murder of the visitors at, I think, Mule Creek State Prison. It's insane. And I don't know how much more bloodshed is going to need to take place for Governor Newsom, for Jeff McCumber, the head of the CDCR, to realize this is not working. This model that we adopted from Norway, however many years back, that we turned into our own California prison model, that we pushed onto the public and we pushed through the media as new age, this new, we're going to put an arm around every inmate, we're going to figure out what's really wrong, we're going to get to the root of the issue. Sometimes there's not an issue. Sometimes there's no getting to the root of an issue. Sometimes it's just, man, these are bad individuals that need to be locked up and kept away from other people so they do not hurt them. And if you are a family member, a friend, or just someone who cares about an inmate or someone who cares about a staff member at these prisons within California, you should not be happy. You should be writing letters. You should be engaging in conversation. You should be trying to do whatever you can for policies and laws to change because this is not working. And I want to give a quick shout out, and I've done that in my last videos. Hector Bravo, go over and watch his videos. He does an amazing job of breaking this down, 10 times better than I could do. He does a great job. He actually worked within the CDCR for a very long time. He's an Iraq War veteran. Big shout out to that. Kind of came home, from what I've watched of his story, was trying to kind of figure out what he wanted to do with his life. Ended up becoming a security guard, a corrections officer within the CDCR. Seemed like he was good at it, liked it, but then he even saw the writing on the wall when these policies began to come in and take effect. And he said, for my own safety, my own sanity, I'm getting out. I'm retiring. And now he makes content. He talks about it on every level, every platform. He's been on some big channels. And so go check his channel out as well. Also, last one, Renegade Media. Very cool guy. Very good job of breaking down information. He's an ex-Norteno gang member. He's got a real good insight into everything that goes on behind these walls in California. So go check his channel out as well. But today, like I said, we're going to be going to Salinas Valley State Prison, talking about 2 Norteno gang members that were in a cell on February 14th, Valentines Day, 2018. Man, love was not in the air this day. So let's read from this article. A man serving time for a Watsonville, California armed robbery was found fatally stabbed at Salinas Valley State Prison, and an inmate from Alameda County is suspected of the homicide, authorities said. George Argueta, 26 years old, was found shortly after 11 a.m. lying on the floor of his cell as staff members carried out a security check. He had multiple stab wounds to his upper chest. Argueta was pronounced dead at 11:26 a.m. after attempts of emergency medical attention failed. Argueta's cellmate, 38-year-old Jacob Castro, was named as a suspect, and authorities said an inmate-made weapon was recovered at the scene. Castro was moved to the prison's administrative investigative unit while the crime was investigated by prison authorities, aided by Monterey County District Attorney's staff. The state office of the Inspector General has been notified, officials said. Since August 2012, Argueta had been serving a 12-year sentence for 1 count of second-degree robbery with use of a firearm. And this kind of breaks down a little bit more of his 7-Eleven robbery. During the December 2010 holdup of a Watsonville 7-Eleven, Argueta, he was only 19 years old, had fired a handgun, basically indiscriminately. Nobody was injured. But again, the minute you pull the gun out and you fire a round off, you're getting charges tacked on. You're getting more time, guaranteed. That's going to go. That's going to come out in court. He pulled the gun out. That raises your level of violent offender. You're going to get more time. And then plus the gang ties and everything else. Castro's sentence. Now, he's got a little bit of a crazier story, which began in September of 2013, was 25 years to life for conspiracy to commit murder. We're going to break down that case here in just a minute. In July 2011, he had ordered the killing of a fellow gang member, remember, these are Norteños, who had identified 2 suspects in a fatal shooting 3 years earlier. So this is back in 2008 at the Viper Lounge in Hayward, California. And that's according to the Alameda County prosecutor at the time. Castro directed 3 colleagues to kill their fellow gang member and his family. So he said wipe them all out at their home in San Leandro. Prosecutor John Buhard said at Castro's trial, this is back in 2013. Castro was upset at the man for cooperating with authorities in the investigation of the August 30th, 2008 shooting death of 24-year-old Nathan Tuiatasi at the Viper Lounge. That's just off Mission Boulevard in Hayward, California. Now, really quick, you guys might not know this, but some really might confuse this with the famous Viper, the Viper Room, the Viper Lounge in West Hollywood. A lot of A-list Hollywood actors used to go there back in the 90s. Johnny Depp, River Phoenix passed away there. This is not the same place, just so you guys know. But this place was called the Viper Lounge. I don't think it exists anymore. I'm actually positive it doesn't. It's been renamed. It's not around anymore. But yeah. So Hayward police actually learned of the plot and were able to thwart it. In 2015, so now he's been behind bars for a couple years, but he's active. He's in Norteno. He's walking mainline. Castro received an additional 8-year sentence for assault with a deadly weapon on an inmate. And about 1,600 people work at Salinas Valley State Prison. Sometimes these numbers are skewed. This one says about 3,600 minimum and maximum custody male inmates. But don't get me wrong, man. By all accounts, Salinas Valley State Prison is with the business. So are a lot of other prisons, obviously, within California. But Salinas Valley just seems to carry that name. Even when you look up, just type in violence in California prisons, the news stories, the stuff that comes out, you wouldn't be surprised when they're at Salinas Valley State Prison doing these stories. It's just one of those places, man. Okay, so this is Jacob Castro's background, the suspected murderer of Argueta. This is an article from June 7th, 2013 by Bay City News. A reputed gang member was sentenced today to 25 years to life in state prison for conspiring to murder a fellow gang member who had identified 2 suspects in a fatal shooting at the Viper Lounge in Hayward in 2008. Jacob Castro, who was 33 at the time, he was convicted in a jury trial, directed 3 colleagues to kill a fellow gang member and his family at their home in San Leandro in July of 2011. Castro was upset at the man for cooperating with authorities in the investigation of the August 30th, 2008 shooting death of 24-year-old Nathan Tuiatasi at the Viper Lounge. Castro didn't partake in that, and this has been important to remember. Castro was not involved So some of you might think, oh man, he smoked this guy, didn't want to leave any witnesses, and one of the guys he was with was talking about it. Now we got to take him and his family out. No, he did not partake in the killing of Nathan Tuiutasi, but he wanted to kill the cooperators because these are all similar gang members. These are all friends. These are all guys tied into the street. He hears about 2 people that are cooperating with authorities, and we're going to kind of read an article about how those guys got rounded up. And when I say those guys, I mean the people that were accused of killing Nathan Tuiutasi back in August of 2008. On July 8th, 2011, this is pretty crazy how they got Castro. On July 8th, 2011, police arrested Castro in Castro Valley and co-defendants Johnny Brown, Lorenzo Farfan, and Ruby Farfan in San Jose. In a sad twist in the case, the man the 4 defendants were plotting to kill has since died of cancer. Brown, Lorenzo Farfan, and Ruby Farfan have all pleaded no contest to attempted murder. Brown faces a 19-year state prison term, and Rudy Farfan faces 7 years. According to Brother Lorenzo Farfan, already has been sentenced to 5 years in state prison, he said. So their big dog is Castro. Castro ended up getting 25 years to life for this. So these other guys, they kind of pled out. Didn't say if they cooperated or not, but they were a part of it. Now again, they were not the ones who killed Nathan Tuiutasi. They partake in the conspiracy to kill the people who cooperated against the people who did do the shooting of Tuiutasi, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But I just want to make sure we are clear on that. The prosecutor, Bruhard, said the gang colleague Castro and other defendants wanted to kill identified 2 men who were involved in the killing of Tuiutasi, as the colleague was at the bar at the same time of the shooting. So he's there at the bar. Tuiutasi gets shot. He just happens to kind of see, hey, I know these guys. These guys are friends of mine. Didn't say he's exactly a gang member, but regardless, he ends up cooperating with police and saying, yep, I knew these guys. These are the ones you're looking for. Because when this happened, this was all over the media at the time locally. This was a big deal that this guy got shot up at the Viper Lounge. Those two men later pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter for Tuiutasi's death. So that cooperator who cooperated against these 2 people involved in Tuiutasi's shooting, they end up having to plead no contest to voluntary manslaughter. Castro, who has a tattoo on his neck, as well as a goatee and a ponytail, chose not to speak at his brief sentencing hearing today. The intended victim's family members also did not speak. We're going to wind the clock back on September 11th, 2008. 6 suspected gang members were arrested today during police raids in connection with the shooting death of a Hayward man in a bar, authorities said. A 7th suspect is still being sought in last month's slaying of 24-year-old Nathan Tuiutasi of Hayward, said Lieutenant Chris Ory of he's a Hayward police spokeswoman. Woman. Arrests today were John Joseph Fragoza, 26 of Hayward, Adeline Lee Lopez, 46 of San Leandro, John Wesley James, 20 of Hayward, Jason Jimenez Mejia, 20 of Hayward, and 2 17-year-old boys from Hayward, whose names were not released because they are minors. The teenagers and Mejia were arrested on suspicion of murder and gang conspiracy. The others were booked on charges of assault with a deadly weapon and gang conspiracy. All are suspected members of a Hayward gang, or they said. Police did not release the name of the suspect who has not been taken into custody. The arrests were made during simultaneous raids of homes throughout southern Alameda County, including Union City and Hayward. The suspects were arrested in connection with an incident early August 30th when Hayward police responded to calls of a crowd causing a disturbance at the Viper Lounge on Mission Boulevard near Vala Vista Avenue. While police were still on their way, more callers reported multiple shots fired inside the bar. When officers arrived, they found Tuiutasi suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at Eden Medical Center in Castro Valley. And at the time, it was Hayward, California's 5th homicide of the year. Responding officers saw a large group of people fleeing the bar and inside found Tuiutasi suffering from gunshot wounds. When officers arrived, they found Tuiutasi suffering. He was pronounced dead at Eden Medical Center. He was, 5th homicide. Okay. Now, before we wrap this up, I wanted to give a little bit. I read in the beginning, the first article about, Watsonville robber found dead in his cell at Salinas Valley, but I'm going to read from an article to really break down Joseph Argueta, our victim in this story, because this is what I've been focusing on, really trying to bring you guys as much information on these individuals we've been talking about when we're talking about the violence that has plagued the California prison system. This is an article from also September 11th, but 2018. A man who allegedly shot around inside an Airport Boulevard liquor store during an early morning robbery was nabbed by police Wednesday, investigators reported. George Alberto Argueta, 19 of Watsonville, and an unnamed 16-year-old were arrested after an intense 3-day investigation, Sergeant Saul Gonzalez said. Police did not name the younger boy because he is a minor. The robbery occurred at about 4 a.m. Sunday at a 7-Eleven market on the 400 block of Airport Boulevard. When officers arrived, several witnesses reported that 3 men entered the store and stole some money, and that one of them, Argueta, fired around into the store as the trio fled. I'm not really sure why he did that. You got the money. You're getting out of there. Maybe, hey, don't follow us. That's the only thing I could really think of. Gonzalez said, no one was hurt, he said. Argueta and the teen were arrested Tuesday without incident, he said, but 3 searches on their residence failed to turn up a gun. The teens were booked on suspicion of armed robbery, conspiracy, using a firearm during commission of a crime, and of course, what we always talk about, those wonderful gang enhancements. Those will get you in the end. They're going to bite you in the ass. Argueta was in county jail at the time, bail set at almost $500,000. Sad, man. Sad. These are so many of these stories that I do. This is how they end up. Guys go in on robbery bids or whatever kind of bids. Even Castro, man, 25 to life. Maybe he'd had good behavior, got some stuff straightened out. Maybe only does like 15 and then has a chance. But, he goes in and he immediately picks up other charges. And just like that, you pick up all these charges and now your life's over. The small shot you had at maybe doing 25 to life, maybe getting out when you're 50. Now you're not going to get out till you're 70, 75, if ever. You're probably just going to be leaving in a box. You combine that with this new California prison model, which does no good for anybody. Lives continue to be at risk. Prison in California continues to become more and more dangerous. And you have the issues that we have now and that we are seeing playing out right in front of our eyes every single day. So there you guys have it. Much love. Thank you so much again for checking out the video. Until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.